Hello, welcome to Weathersfield Proctor Library Storytime. I'm Glenna Coleman, Youth Services Librarian, and here's our library bear. You may have noticed something a little bit different this week. He has a large clock on it that just happens to say read, 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 and that's what we're going to do. We are going to read stories about time. So our first story about time is called Someday is Not a Day of the Week. And this is by Denise Brennan-Nelson, and it's illustrated by Kevin O'Malley. Someday is not a day of the week. Oh, you can see a list of to-do things there. Max and Mama sat at the kitchen table together. Max ate blueberry waffles while Mama made a list of the things she had to do that day. It looked very long and boring to Max. He smiled, thinking of all the things he would like to put on Mama's list. "Let's go to the fair today," he said through a mouthful of waffles. Mama had a lot to think about, so she didn't answer him right away. Finally, without looking up, Mama softly sighed and said, "Someday, Max, but not today." Max slowly wrote his name in the gooey syrup while Mama added more things to her list. Oh, I bet we all know what that's like. We can definitely empathize with Max on this one. There's a frog. When the telephone rang, Max got to it first. Snatching it up, he asked, "Who's calling, please?" "Hi, Max. It's Grandpa." "Hi, Grandpa. When are you coming to see me? Please come today," Max pleaded. "The fish are biting." Grandpa's chuckle made Max smile. "I wish I could, but Grandma and I have some errands we need to do. We'll go fishing someday, Max, but not today." Are you sensing a theme here? I think I might be. Errands didn't sound as much fun as fishing to Max, but he didn't say that. He wanted to tell Grandpa about his missing tooth, his enormous pet frog, and his baseball trophy, but Mama's hand was outstretched, waiting. "I'll have the fishing poles ready for us, Grandpa," Max said, before handing Mama the sticky phone. Daddy came into the kitchen and bent down to give Max a kiss. Max flung his arms around Daddy's neck. Squeezing tightly, he whispered, "I wish you didn't have to go to work today." "Me too, champ," Daddy said, "but I have a busy schedule. I promise we'll take a day and do something really special, just you and me." Max's eyes grew big and hopeful. "Could you build me a fort?" Daddy smiled and said, "Sure, Max." "When, Daddy?" Max needed to know. "When?" Glancing at his watch, Daddy stood up and said, "Someday, Max, but not today." Oh, how do you think Max looks? He doesn't look very happy from the back, does he? With a big sigh, Max hopped down from his chair. He took the calendar off the wall and headed for his room. Flopping down on his bed, Max began to sing the song he had learned in preschool. You know, I don't know this song, so I'm just going to read it. "Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, now we start again." But wait, something wasn't right. There's a calendar. Oh, and it's April. Slower this time, and pointing at the days on the calendar, Max began again. "Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday." Max was confused. "Where is someday?" he asked out loud. "Someday is not a day of the week," a chorus of tiny voices replied. Max's eyes darted around the room, then back to the calendar. "What did you say?" he asked. Someday is not a day of the week. The voices repeated a little louder. Bewildered, Max asked, "Who are you?" "We're the days of the week." "What are you doing here?" Max asked. Monday leaned forward and said, "We're here to help you, Max. We heard you were looking for Someday." "Do you know where Someday is?" Max asked. "No one knows for sure, and that's the problem," Saturday said. "But he'll be really busy if he ever shows up," Wednesday blurted out. "Why are you looking for Someday?" Tuesday asked. "I have some very important things to do," Max said. "Everyone tells me we have to wait for Someday. I have to find him." "Don't waste time waiting for Someday, Max," Friday said. "Friday is right," Thursday added. "Someday is not a day of the week. But you have us. We're always here." "But you don't have any room," Max said. "We can always make room for the things that matter most," Sunday said kindly. "If you want to do something, Max, don't wait for Someday. Pick one of us." Excuse me. Oh, he looks very different from when he went up to his room, doesn't he? "Mama! Mama!" Max shouted. "We can't go to the fair Someday." "Why not?" Mama said. "Because Someday is not a day of the week. We have to pick one of these," Max exclaimed, waving the calendar. Oh, smart, Max. Very smart. Mama sat down next to Max, hugging him tenderly. She said, "You're right, Max. I never thought of it like that. What day should we go?" Max didn't hesitate. "How about Tuesday?" Mama thought for a moment, and then shaking her head, she said, "We can't go on Tuesday, Max. I have to." Max swallowed hard. She doesn't understand, he thought. Sadly, he walked back to his bedroom. Oh, poor Max. I hope that's not how the story ends. Let's turn the page and find out. Mama looked at the piles of laundry and thought about her long to-do list. Then she thought about what Max had said. Poking her head into Max's room, Mama said, "I found Someday." "Really?" Max asked. "Where?" "Get your shoes, Max." Today is Someday. And to his delight, on Saturday, Max and Daddy ate lunch in the most unbelievable blanket fort Max had ever seen. And on the following Sunday, after showing Grandpa his missing tooth, his enormous pet frog, and his baseball trophy, Max and Grandpa went fishing. Well, I hope you enjoyed Someday is Not a Day of the Week, written by Denise Brennan-Nelson and illustrated by Kevin O'Malley. We have another book about time, and this book is a rhyming book. It's called Cousin Ruth's Tooth. It is written by Amy MacDonald and it's illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. Cousin Ruth's Tooth. I hope you can keep up with the rhymes. "Rachel Pfister, get your sister." Mrs. Pfister spread the word. "Cousin Ruth has lost a tooth. Oh, careless youth, it's too absurd." "Never mind it, we shall find it. We will search both low and high." "Well," said Ruth, "to tell the truth, I—" "Hush now, darling, don't you cry." "Find your cousins, several dozens. Get your uncles and your aunts. Bess, Matilda, Olga, Zelda, Mary Lee, and Uncle Lance." Uncle Walter, never falter. Search the cellar, check the roof. Norma Jean and Aunt Bodine, go check the attic for that tooth. Search the yard and search the garden. Check the engine of the car. Check the hat box, check the cat box. Look inside the VCR. You probably don't know what a VCR is, but it's like a CD player. Somewhat. Faster, harder, search the larder. Check the pockets of your pants. Harder, faster. Quel disaster, said Aunt Bee, who'd been to France. Though they searched in ways most ruthless, after days they still were toothless. This adventure of the dentures quickly fixed, said Uncle Drew. Yes, forsooth, I'll buy a tooth. I'll stick it on with super glue. Go to Walmart, Sears, and Allmart, cried the youngest, Cousin Keith. L.L. Bean, cried Norma Jean. Oh, someone's bound to have some teeth. Uncle Ricky grabbed a stick. He said, I'll whittle one real quick. Auntie May said, one from clay. I'll make it now, this very day. We've been burgled, Aunt Bee gurgled. Call the army, call the police. Someone stole her little molar. Someone's robbed my little niece. Mrs. Pfister hushed her sister, said to Ruthie, in this clan, we're the Pfisters, Mrs. Misters, and we always have a plan. For this dental matter, mental fortitude is what we need. Ask the wisest to advise us. Ask the Queen. They all agreed. So they faxed her and they asked her. Her reply was brief. You goons! Of this dental incident, I'll just say this. Time heals all wounds. There's our reference to time. What does it mean? Mused Aunt Bodine and Cousin Bess and Uncle Max. Said Ruth, look here. Not now, my dear. We're trying to figure out this fax. Ahem, said Ruth. I found my tooth and opened up for all to see. There's another, gasped her brother, where the other used to be. Did you ever? Aren't you clever? Cried the Pfisters. Silly child. Such a fuss you caused for us, but little Ruthie simply smiled. I hope you enjoyed Cousin Ruth's Tooth, written by Amy MacDonald and illustrated by Marjorie Priceman. I kind of like that one too. Well, our last book that has to do with time is some very slow time. This book is called Sparky, and it's by Jenny Offill and Chris Appelhans. Sparky. Amazing Sloth Show. Let's see how that works out. I wanted a pet. A bird, or a bunny, or a trained seal. My mother said no to the bird, no to the bunny, no, no, no to the trained seal. I asked her every day for a month until she finally said, you can have any pet you want as long as it doesn't need to be walked or bathed or fed. I made her promise. Then I went to see the school librarian. Mrs. Nick Kinklebaum, who knows everything in the world, pointed me to volume 5 of the Animal Encyclopedia. This is what I found. Sloth. Sloths have been known to sleep more than 16 hours a day. They sometimes hang upside down in the trees, barely moving for long periods of time. They survive by eating leaves and drinking the dew that collects in them. It is said that sloths are the laziest animals in the world. My sloth arrived by express mail. That's probably the last time it'll be fast. He was about the size of a medium-ish dog with a flat nose and a monkey face. My mother wasn't happy, but a promise is a promise, I said. Sparky, I decided. That will be your name. I took him outside to his tree. Sparky went right to sleep. I made a sign and put it under the tree. Guard sloth, enter at your own peril. It was 2 days before I saw him awake. He didn't know a lot of games, so I taught him some. We played King of the Mountain, and I won. We played hide and seek, and I won. We played Kung Fu Fighter, and I won. We played Statue, and Sparky was very, very good. That weekend, Mary Potts came over to investigate. Let me show you what Mary Potts is like. This is a picture of her room. Excellence in permission slip compliance, most likely to chew closed mouth in lunchroom, best fire drill liner upper. Before she even took off her coat, Mary said, "Let me see your new pet." I had some worries, but I took her out to Sparky's tree. He opened his eyes and looked at us. Then he closed them again. I rubbed his belly, but it was too late. We stood there for a while watching him sleep, his fur ruffled gently in the breeze. I feel sorry for you, Mary said. My cat can dance on her hind legs, and my parrot knows 20 words, including God and ice cream. The next day, I made a poster and nailed it to the tree outside Mary Potts' house. Trained sloth extravaganza. Countless tricks to mystify you, just 7 days away. All week, we trained in secret. Sometimes Sparky slept through practice and I had to poke him awake. Sometimes he forgot what he was doing and we had to start over. Sometimes he took so long to fetch that I went inside and had dinner while I waited. I was starting to think the poster had been a mistake. But a promise is a promise. On the day of the trained sloth extravaganza, my mother set up lawn chairs. 3 people came to see Sparky perform. My mother, Mary Potts, and Mrs. Edwin, the crossing guard. Mrs. Edwin approved of Sparky because he never ran in the street. Do I look like a ringmaster? I asked my mother. You look very interesting, she told me. I put a little glitter on Sparky just before the curtain went up. I kept wishing I had written 2 tricks on the poster instead of countless tricks. Play dead, Sparky, I said, and he did. We all, roll over, I said, and he didn't. Speak, I commanded. We all waited and waited. Speak, I said. Sparky looked at me. The only thing you could hear was the wind in the trees. He has a very pretty coat, doesn't he? Mrs. Edwin said finally. You can't just invent a brand new pet like that, Mary told me. A pet no one's ever had. My mother came out with her lemonade and cookies, but everyone said they had to be going. Sparky and I watched them. Then my mother made me put the chairs away. Afterward, I gave Sparky a cookie, but he ate it so slowly that I took it back again. It was getting dark out. I looked at him and he looked at me. You could hear all the neighborhood dogs barking. I reached over and tagged him on his claw. You're it, Sparky, I said. And for a long, long time, he was. I hope you enjoyed Sparky by Jenny Offill and Chris Appelhans. Well, as you can see, Bear still has his clock. Those are our 3 stories that have to do with time. I hope you enjoyed them. Join us again for Storytime at Weathersfield Proctor Library. I'm Glenna Coleman, Youth Services Librarian. Bye until next time.